There's so much going on in life that if you haven't learned something new that day, you're really not paying attention. There's just an infinite amount of things to learn. And I'm just always on that quest. The way I travel, like my nomad life, and I'm constantly from job to job and place to place, I'm always getting that like 21 questions of a new employee, new person, like where you from and all that. And people see me traveling like this and they expect it to be like an early childhood thing, but I was raised in the city of Stockton, California. Like, well, we didn't do camping. I don't know. I was raised by my grandparents a lot of my younger years, so it's like I didn't get to go out and experience that. So actually, it wasn't until like literally the night I graduated high school, I walked across stage. It was the night of 666, June 6, 2006. And that night, me and my dad moved down here to San Diego because my brother moved down here because he joined the Navy. And I rented an apartment, and that was the first time I lived with my dad, actually. And rented an apartment with him for a couple years. And I took over it by myself. But I started getting tired of just like working. I was just like, the idea of going to work every day to like, man, I'm coming right back to this fucking apartment, spending $1,000 a month and electrical and all the other bullshit and traveling that goes along with fucking renting this place right down by the beach. But right here on Fiesta Island, I saw people in RVs. And I used to bring my jet ski out here just for fun. So one day I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna get an RV and do this full time. If I don't like it, I can go back. And here I am, like 14-ish years later, several RVs and vans later. And I just can't imagine myself going back to renting a place or a solid brick and mortar place, because I get so much joy out of this. Straight up, like my parents were into partying and other shit when I was younger, so my grandparents had to raise me some of my younger fundamental years. And like when I was in middle school, I moved in with my mom. First time like mentally remember like living with my mother. And she married my stepdad, and they're together to this day, and I appreciate them like very much, like for everything they've done. Like when a lot of people see me living on the road, they're like, oh, you're living in a van. Like I think like even my mom, like, and my stepdad, when they first saw me doing it, they're like almost like, oh shit, Mark's giving up. Like he's fucking bumming it up, like giving up on life. We had so many hopes and dreams for this smart kid. But now years later, they're like, oh wow, you're actually having the most fun out of all of our kids. Like I see that you're enjoying life. Like luckily I got to choose to live in a van, where it's like a lot of other people, they do it just because life is rough, or they're just not capable of normal relations. But yeah, very thankful for my grandparents. This is them hanging right here. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be who I am today. It's kind of, honestly, I would have probably been stuck in some sort of fucking system. I don't know. I'm grateful for him. I'd say the biggest challenge about living on the road, I mean, me personally, is just connecting with people long term. Like the nomad life is a very unique thing, and so to be able to bump into other nomads from time to time, it's like ooh, someone else like me. Because I was just raised like feeling different. Like I was always the kid in the back of the classroom. I knew the answer, but I'm not raising my hand. I don't want anyone looking at me. I don't want any center of attention. But nowadays, a lot of people know me for showing my ass, like at Hot Springs, like on Facebook. It's been a while since I've done that. I've met like literally the most amazing people in my life, specifically because some form of nomadic community. Like I feel like people that live like this, they kind of get it more, like in a sense. It's just like simple life of like, I get to kind of just do whatever I want. Like, I sleep next to the beach. Like, I lived on this island for years. And like, I see, like, I open up my back doors and I fall asleep to mountainscapes and like beautiful shit that's like, when I used to live in my apartment, I'm like, man, like I'm spending over $1,000 a month to like open my window and look at the back face of another apartment complex, like, or a fucking alley. So I just appreciate life much more. It's like if you go from living into a brick and mortar place into living on the road, you're just automatically going to start appreciating life much more, because you're going to see more things and you're going to have to do more things. Because one part of living on the road is just maintenance of everything, maintenance of your vehicle, maintenance of this vehicle, and maintenance of this vehicle. Yeah, luckily I've just been fortunate enough to be gifted with natural curiosity, and ever since I've been a kid, I've been building and taking things apart. So when it comes to a vehicle, like the only times I've taken a vehicle into a shop is to get new tires put on the rim or get the smog checked, because they have machines I don't have. Other than that, I'll rebuild the engine or fucking do anything like to it. But up until now, I've been fortunate with this van. This is actually a newer van compared to like some of the other vans I've had. But this one, since it has modified rims on it, 20-inch rims and low profile, like they started wearing funny and they started rubbing it inside the wheel wells, and I'm gonna replace all the fucking tires and like do the alignment and stuff. And I mean, it's way cheaper than rent ever was. So it's like, even if like I complain about like, oh my gosh, like I gotta get new tires, it's like I think about like, well, think about all the money I just like poured into rent that I'll never see again. Like, I think a lot of people like overlook that about life. That I love that. Like, if someone else can do it, I can do it. Like, people see someone like skating or just doing some random various thing or painting, and they're like, ooh, I'm not an artist, I can't do that. But I asked them, it's like, have you ever tried it? I'm like, no, because I can't do it. It's like, but you haven't tried it. It's like, just do it. It's like, I don't know. Just do it for the enjoyment of it, I guess. But I mean, I'm always trying to learn something new. And I'm just always on that quest. That's another thing I like about the nomadic life is I'm in a new place every day. So it's like I'm seeing new things or meet new people, different cities, different fucking experiences. It's wild to think about like how many people I was raised in high school with that they still live in that same town. They're gonna die in that town. I mean, I appreciate it. Like, we all enjoy our own things. But me, I have to do new things like all the time. It started out as a process of downsizing because I lived in an apartment, and even though that was small, I had it full of a lot of stuff, like art supplies and crafty stuff mostly. And I bought a 32-foot, was that the Suncrest, and put my motorcycle on the back, had a dirt bike, a street legal dirt bike. And I literally moved on this island, and back in the day, cops wouldn't make people leave at night. So, I mean, I would just take my motorcycle to work and leave my RV here. I lived on this island. Unless I was going to get propane or empty my tanks or something, like I wouldn't leave. And it was enjoyable for a couple of years. But yeah, I started traveling more because I didn't start out living in an RV because I wanted to travel. It was more of just almost a necessity, like just like why would I spend thousands of dollars in an apartment that is never going to be mine when I can spend like $2,000 on a big old box RV and just live in it for fucking a couple of years for free right here. But then after a couple of years, I'm like, I'm gonna downsize. So I got a 23-foot RV, and then I got my jet ski and slapped it on the back. And I was always in and off this island all the time. That happened for a couple of years, and actually in 2014, San Diego made a law that RVs and trailers can't be on any city streets in between like 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., some just couple hour stretch in the middle of the night. So cops would literally just drive around all throughout the city and just put tickets on any recreational vehicle, to the point where like people couldn't pay their fines and were losing their shit, or they just had to fucking leave San Diego. And that was actually why I wanted to get a van. So I decided to get rid of the big old RV and the motorcycle on the back, and got a little van because I could park this thing anywhere. Like, and I'm always at a new place from night to night, so it's like I'm not, I don't know. I think one of the biggest like pet peeves of mine of people living on the road is people that will just camp out in unnecessary spots, like in front of houses or just anywhere. Like they'll just find a spot and they just won't leave forever until cops or the city has to make a law about it, like they had to do here. So living on the road, you're obviously gonna see more. You're gonna be in more places on a regular occasion. So life is gonna present you with more people, and people are weird. And over the years, I've had a lot of weird issues. Like even a couple months ago, over here in Ocean Beach, the farmers market was going on. I parked my van underneath the brightest lights right next to the elementary school and the library. Like the most like safe spot you could find in Ocean Beach. Went and hung out with my friends, went and bought some food and hot sauce and stuff. Came back to my van, jumped in the front seat. I was in my front seat for less than a minute, and I felt like something bump on the side of my van. I'm like, what the fuck? And I thought it was one of my friends like coming up, like messing with me and like pushing the side of my van like to get my attention. And I look out the window and there was like someone like down on their knees next to my back tire. Like, what the fuck? And like I get out and I walk around, and by the time I get out and walk around, this guy is walking away. And he's completely covered like in a blanket, like a big thick blanket. And I'm like, as he's walking away, like I look down, like my tire was hissing, and I was just like barely piecing it together. I'm like, holy shit, that guy just stabbed my tire. Like, and I went up like, motherfucker, and I went up and just pushed him. And right when I pushed him, he turned around and he swung out a fucking big ass knife, like just a ghetto fucking shank, and his entire face was covered in blood. Like he's already fucked with someone that night, and someone put him, I don't know why he's so angry. But yeah, he stabbed my tire and almost stabbed me in the face, and that was just a completely random thing. If I were to show up like a couple minutes, like just seconds after that would have happened, I would have just showed up to a flat tire and been like, huh, that's weird. Instead of like showing up and like having a bum swing a blade at my face. And when that happened, I opened my door up. That's why I like have this motherfucker right here. And I pulled this motherfucker out, and he ran down the fucking alley. And for a second, I was like almost like just dummy monkey mentally wanting to run after him. But I was like, what am I gonna chase him and get into a knife fight in the dark alley? It's like, no. But so I let him go off, and then like literally like 2 minutes later, I'm sitting there like on my phone, like I'm fucking rushing. I'm like, holy fuck, this guy just tried to stab me in my fucking face. He just stabbed my tires. Like, he's running down the alley, fully bloody. Like, what the fuck do I do? And then I see a cop. I'm like, this is legit the first time in my life I'm gonna stop a cop. And I had on my red Kyle Smith flannel. Cop coming by. I fucking opened this motherfucker. I'm like waving at this motherfucker. I'm looking at the side of this cop's fucking face as he just drives by. And I'm like literally run after him, like waving my shit, and he just keeps going. I'm like, what the fuck? But luckily, my insurance took care of the tire. Like even like a few months back when I was parking like in between a river somewhere, I was backing my van up. I have a backup camera that I didn't have on. And I was backing up and there was a random little branch sticking out of a tree and it poked right in my fucking window. My favorite window that had all my stickers on it. And like, but luckily insurance just took care of that. Like completely free. I mean, that's why I was going. That's why I think like I always like attract weirdos. Like I post all the weird shit I come across on Facebook and people are like, well, you run into a lot of weird shit. It's like, well, I do a lot more than you, first of all. Second of all, it's like if you travel around a lot, you're bound to like just bump into weirdos. And it's like, I mind my own fucking business to the maximum. Like I don't fuck with no one, I don't talk to no one. It's like, even when I park from place to place, night to night, I do not even get out of my van. It's like, I know a lot of people that like, they travel in their van, they'll park and like get out, hang out, fucking do whatever, barbecue, just like, I don't do that. Like, I just keep it fully self-contained. And it's like this roof right here, like, these are just random CDs that I found. These are some of my friends. This is one of my friends' drumsticks. And I just find like shit like that, or this book that I found. I fucking put random pages up here. I got the CDs back, the records back here. I need to find some cassettes. I want to fill up this middle piece. Hey, if anyone's got some old cassettes, hit me up. This is my 4th nomadic vehicle, my 2nd van. I had 2 RVs. Started out with a 32-foot RV with my motorcycle on the back, and then went to a 23-foot RV with my jet ski on the back. And then laws changed, I got a van. And the first van I got, the person I bought it from off Craigslist, they told me the name of the van was Grandma Linda. And that's my grandmother, her ashes that are hanging from this newer van. But I had that for many years, and then I got in the first accident in my life where I was up on Mount Hood, just driving up the fucking highway, and there was someone on a side street that pulled out right in front of me, and I was in a van that was older than me and probably needed some replacements. But it's like, I'm going up the hill, and this person starts pulling out in front of me, and she's looking the opposite way. And I try to go out of the way, and she's going, and like, I just fucking T-boned these old couple. It was like a grandparents, and like, I smacked them so hard. Like, I was lucky I was able to jump out of that vehicle because I was limping around for a couple weeks. But I got out, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like old people. It's like I fucked up someone's grandparents. Like, even though it was completely their fault, like their insurance covered it. Like, they were just, that's one part of, I'm lucky that out of all the years I've living on the road, I've never crashed any of my RVs. No one's crashed into me, parked on the side of the road. That's a big hazard. I'm always conscious of like where I'm parking on the side of the road. I know people that like, they'll just see a parking spot on the busy side of a road and just pull over. And it's like, there's fucking cars rushing by all day. It's like, they're just fucking taking a chance. Eventually, one of those cars is gonna sideswipe you. Yeah, I was lucky. I mean, actually, that was like, one of the weird random times where I was like, oh my God, that could have been fucked up. Like that would be the most miserable thing, to come back to your house that's been sideswiped and your fucking cat is in there. It's like, smashed into my van, but if I come back and someone's fucking killed my cat, like the fucking first accident I ever got into, when that lady fucking pulled out in front of me and I smashed her. The funny thing, Misha, she's on my lap 99% of the time when I drive. That's just her safe spot. But sometimes she's laying back here like this. When I got in that fucking accident, she was laying back here, and everything, I mean, in my van, like, went forward. Like, right when I crashed, I turned around, like, and it looked like a fucking tornado. And the first thing I'm like, Misha, like, I have, it's stuffed somewhere. I wish I could pull it out, but I have a raccoon fur that I skinned and found. But it's
flat, like hard like a pancake. So when I got in the accident and I turned around, there's this fucking fur that's the same color as her that's all smushed in between shit. And for a split second, I thought it was her. And she was underneath a bunch of stuff and she was okay. Like that was like the fucking only thing I was worried about. Like fuck, jumped out of my van all limping. I'm like, oh, I hope no one else crashes into me in the middle of this fucking road. Like, damn, like, yeah, that was like actually one of the most traumatic time, or like legit the most traumatic time of living on the road. I've just always been a drummer ever since I've been a kid. Like, even if my hands are in my pocket somewhere, someone thinks I'm just chill, my fingers, like each of my fingers doing like little drum thing. It's like, there are like instruments I would love to learn to play that I haven't taken the time to. But any kind of drum has always been my favorite. Like I have my portable drum kit. I wish I could pull it out right now. I'm like revamping it right now and repainting it. But I always got like these little, I got like a badass djembe right here. Like, I will fucking get anything used. And I'm just the kind of guy, like, if anything slightly breaks, I will fix it. And that's why half the things are in thrift stores, is because, like, people don't know what it is, or something fell off of it, and, like, I'm like, oh, it just takes a screw or some glue, and, like, I've gotten several of these books from thrift stores. Like, some of them are over 100 years old, and then it's like, they were just throwing them away. And it's like, but this right here is just like, I'm sure a lot of people have seen these. It's like a lighted moon. It changes different colors and stuff. But I found it, and there was no remote for it, so they just treated it as a ball and put it in the ball bin with everything else. And I'm like, all right, let me take the bottom. I will sell the whole thing, but rip it up. It's like, I made this little thing, got little like crystals and moss in there. I made this with hemp string. And this, I have it where you can hang it from a cord. And obviously it's battery operated, but I have a cord where you can like keep it fully charged, so someone can hang it from the roof or whatever. But it's just something I've always loved, is like finding something that like someone didn't know how to use properly and repurposing it. I think I should take my own advice, which we were even joking earlier, like you thought I started young, but like I wish I started younger. And I know so many people that want to start their nomadic life, but they're just waiting for an opportunity or saving up money or waiting for something. 5 years down the road, they're like, yeah, they're still in their apartment, still thinking about it. It's like, I've thought about doing my box truck for like 2-3 years. Still haven't done it. I mean, financial issues are like a problem, but I don't know. Living on the road is so much fucking cheaper that you just have to do it. Like, that's, and there's so many cheap ways. Like, I bought this van for $4,000 and I've had it for a couple years already. The van I had before, I bought it for like fucking half that price and had it for twice as long. Like, just do it. Well, I like to do new things like on a daily basis. Ever since I was a kid, I just like to learn new things. So living on the road, it just presents you with new things, and you're just bound to talk to new, different, various people, or be in different cities, or different, just, it's a constant learning environment. Where before, like, when I graduated high school, I rented a place in San Diego, lived there for like 2-ish years. And just a little bit of time I was there, I was like, I would work all day and I would come back and I'm just like, I felt like I was doing nothing, where I was like, this is the same thing every day. The same, like, it's just money going into a hole. And like, I'm literally just like, I'm not even happy coming home looking at the fucking alley, listening to my fucking neighbors stomp around and shit. It's like now, it's like, if I don't like my neighbors, I drive away from it. It's like, all right, just fucking live right here on the beach. It's funny because a lot of people follow me online and they think that like I've traveled like this. It's like, oh my God, you've like lived in a vehicle for 14 years? It's like, you must have been everywhere. Like, no, honestly, like Arizona's the furthest east I've driven. I didn't do it as a reason to travel. I did it as just a reason to enjoy life more. It's like I could live right here and my life was so fulfilled that it's like people are like, oh, you should travel here, you should do this. I'm like, it's kind of fucking beautiful here. And it's like, I don't know. But everywhere I went, it was just a nonstop beautiful thing because I got to pick where I was looking instead of like my old apartment, whereas every day I came back to the same. I look out my bedroom window to some other ugly building. I look out my front window to another ugly building and loud cars. Now, if like I don't like loud cars, I go park on the back alley. If I have a loud neighbor, I just fucking drive away. Honestly, I'm a California kid. Even though I was born and raised in a ghetto city of California, when I became an adult, I came here to San Diego, and I've just stuck around Southern California for a long fucking time. It's when you're into the things that I'm into, it's like when it comes to the ocean or like live music, like, you know how many of my friends are just like jealous that it's like, dude, you live in a van in Southern California and you like live music? Like, dude, I'm always early at the event. I get that. You know how many of my artist friends are just like giving me bracelets, like, oh, like you can come, like giving me band, like I'm an artist and shit. Like I get like the van guy fucking bracelet. It's like I'm just the homie hookup. Like, I've gotten to meet like some of my favorite artists, like just because I live in my van. I thought yesterday I was wearing my Dub Shack shirt. And when I went to that fucking show, like my friend hooked me up with a free ticket because he was like, you park right, like I was literally parked as close as you can get to is behind the stage. Like I could like literally flick a booger out my window and fucking hit the backstage. And it was like all my favorite artists in there. And I got free access to like all the fucking free food and hanging out with them and shit. Just because they're like, yeah, set the stage up for me and get the fucking backstage pass. No, I'm just lucky that like I have an innate ability to just transfer to new environments, so I'm comfortable with it. But absolutely, you do not need any like, you don't need to be a fucking mechanic or a fucking daily driver or anything. It's like, I've met so many people that are full-time nomads. Like this lady that's parked, oh, she moved, or no. There was a lady that was parked like right behind us earlier, and she's an old lady, and she's like got a full-time van set up, and she's fucking just obviously living full-time, just hanging out here at the beach. Like there is no age, no different type of fucking, like, I've met so many different types of people. Like sometimes I would almost assume that like, oh yeah, most people living in a van have to be similar to me, right? Similar mindset, you would assume. But you meet someone else living in a van, like, oh wow, they are completely different, but they just happen to live on the road. A lot of people, they're questioning on living on the road and everything. It's like they have so many, like, what about this or what about that? It's like, and all those years of what ifs, they're still sitting in your fucking apartment paying rent and not doing it. Or, that was kind of the most random thing in my life. Is like, I saw people living out here in RVs. I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. If I don't like it, I could always go back to that shitty RV or apartment style like I was doing. It's like, but 14 years later, here I am still on the roads. Like I can't imagine going back to a fucking brick and mortar place because I don't know. There's so many constraints to it in my mind. The only thing I do miss, like living on the road, is I don't have a place to grow food to like have like a steady, I mean, here, like I'm limited in my space where like all my projects have to be fully self-contained. Like, so when I move places from day to day or something, it's like, I just don't have a backyard. I could fucking set my tie-dye and my fucking epoxy up and just, it'll be okay, I'll see it tomorrow. I gotta be like, all right, a lot of cat hair is gonna go everywhere and I'm gonna dry pretty soon. But I wouldn't change anything. Like a lot of people like ask that, like kind of what would you change or what your regrets kind of thing. It's like nothing. Like I wish I would have started younger, and I still started pretty fucking young.